inspiring interviews with today's top landlords. This is the Rental Income Podcast. And now, Dan Lane.
My guest on the podcast today is a full-time fireman. Now, part of the benefits of having a government job like that is you get a pension. Well, a few years ago, his employer started making cuts, and he was afraid that they might get rid of the pension. So instead of complaining about it or worrying about it, he decided to go out there and create his own pension. So he figured out how to buy cash-flowing rental properties that would produce income for him to secure his future. So he's done it. He has built a really good portfolio that's producing a bunch of cash flow, so he's not dependent anymore on what the government decides to do. I think he's got a great story. Let's take a real quick break. We'll come back in 30 seconds, and we'll meet Ian Horowitz from Baltimore.
Are you having a hard time finding great investment properties? Unfortunately, the best deals are rarely found locally. Successful investing begins with the right properties in the right markets. Norada Real Estate provides everything you need to invest in the best deals across the U.S. Our simple, proven system will help you create real wealth and passive monthly cash flow. Get your free copy of the ultimate guide to passive real estate investing at noradarealestate.com/guide. That's NORADA realestate.com/guide.
Hey, Ian, thanks a lot for coming on the podcast. So take me back to 2008. What was going on back then?
Well, let's see. 2008, it was what I thought was going to be an awesome year of my life. I got hired by the Baltimore City Fire Department and thought I was going to create some stability in my life. And I think I got hired in August of 2008. And, we're in the academy. We had a few good months. We get out of the academy, fast forward to 2009. And, we're working our 2 10-hour days and 2 14-hour nights and have some free time. So, pay's not the best, but you take a government job for good pension and benefits and, work stability. Maybe the pay's not the best, but that's fine. So, landscaping and just working extra side work and, go through 2009 and 10, somewhere between 2008, 2009, the mayor decided, like a lot of big cities, to start attacking our pension system. So now side work and stability and all these other things are, starting to wash away. And that's kind of how I got involved in real estate. I was working every day, between my 4 days on at work and then my 4 days off. And, we were working night work. We were working all day before we were going to night work. So legitimately, I'm working 8 days a week. And, there's no end in sight. Our pension, we don't pay Social Security, and not paying Social Security, that's huge because we don't have any retirement. Like we're counting on this pension system to be there. And, Detroit and California and private industries locally, like Bethlehem Steel, a few other places, their pension systems are going belly up. So between the landscaping and, worrying about that and being able to provide a life, I started buying rental properties in 2012 as a retirement project, and it's grown since then. So
over the last 5 years, you've been adding properties to your portfolio and just with the goal of generating passive income to basically secure your future, right? That's kind of the plan. Now tell me about your portfolio today.
Okay, so our portfolio today, we're at about 75 properties, and out of those 75 properties, we have 2 commercial spaces. And so that takes me down to 73 units, and out of those 73 units, all except 2 units are all rented out to some sort of subsidy program. That's kind of our specialty, is being able to create quality housing for subsidy tenants, and creating cash flow off of that for, ourselves and our investors.
So do you feel secure if something happened today and the mayor ends up cutting the pension and maybe you couldn't even buy any more real estate for whatever reason, you can't get any more loans. Do you feel secure that you would be taken care of in the future?
Yes, absolutely.
That's awesome.
And that's the advantage of growing a portfolio more than just say one house, right? Like if you have one house, all your eggs are in one basket. At least if you have 2 houses, if one house goes down, you got house 2 to support house one and you still have something. So I would say me and my business partner, we feel very secure. We have enough diversity throughout the portfolio, and real estate in general is cyclical. So some stuff will be good today and some stuff will be bad tomorrow, but it all works out in the end,
And you're working full time, and you and your partner are managing this portfolio. And I guess when you have a portfolio really of any size, there's two ways it can go. It can be really easy, or it can be really difficult. What camp do you see yourself in? Is it easy to manage the properties, or is it difficult?
Well, for us, we see that it's easy. I mean, and I think things are easier when you like what you're doing. Mm-hmm. But even past that, I mean, our business model is to buy the houses in, preferably the worst shape possible. And it's not because they're the cheapest. It's because we want to build them out the right way on day one. Everything we do, for the most part, is gut renovations, or we verify something that we're buying that we feel that we can stand behind the product. But I'd say 95% of our portfolio was built through gut renovation, rehab, properties where we went in, all new mechanicals, all new windows, all new roofs, all new sheetrock, laminate flooring, doors, tiles. And people say, well, why do you go through that expense? But the expense is in the long term. I mean, your time is worth money in the end. And yeah, sure, you got 2-3 properties. It doesn't matter how much, maybe it doesn't matter to you how much time you spend on your properties. But when you multiply that by 10, time starts to add up. And then the other nice thing is, on a capital expenditure budget, we put everything up front, that with good service and good tenants that we vet, we should get life expectancies of 10 to 15 years out of our major mechanicals, to reduce our maintenance cost, which ultimately drives our bottom line to a better number. So if you know what your end goal is, you can buy properties up front that are going to support your end goal property that you want and what your cash flow is going to be.
I think that's really important what you just said there. And I think everyone should really take note of this. So it doesn't matter if the HVAC system is 5 years old, or maybe you can get another year or two out of it. You're going to replace that up front, knowing that it's going to make your life easier down the road, right?
Right, sure. And, it comes up for us, too, because we are still technically, we are employed by the fire department. Now, we don't have a Monday 9 to 5, but we actually have it, I want to say almost worse. We're at work for 24 hours. So if a tenant calls with a problem, the question is, if you have a W-2 job and you're buying real estate as a secondary investment or a way to get out, you need to know how you're going to be able to service that unit or a major issue or whatever it may be. And that gives us, the quality of life to be able to sleep at night, that if somebody calls, most of the time it's something very dumb, very easy, very simple, because it's hard. The likelihood of someone calling us and saying that my heater is completely broke and we got to replace it and we got to deal with that is slim to none, because we've taken that issue away on day one. Versus if you're buying a house from somebody else, or you lived in it for 10, 15 years, I'll get away with it for another couple of years. There's a big difference in wear and tear when you live in a house, or it was somebody's prized possession, versus when you put a tenant in there. The same pride of ownership might not be there depending on your tenant, that, you could wind up with these issues that, you're renovating, or you're swapping out a unit, or you got to put in new flooring. I don't even like putting new flooring in my own house, and I live there, and it's a pain in the butt. Can you imagine doing that for somebody that's living in your property, that notices that, nitpicks every little thing, and, it's a scheduling nightmare. It's just easier to fix everything on day one.
Yep. And then the other thing, too, is you're not inconveniencing your tenant. So if things are always kind of coming up, no one's happy. You're not happy that you're having to pay for repairs and put money in the house. And the tenant, I think they feel inconvenienced, too, if someone's always coming over and fixing things.
Yeah, because they don't feel like, honestly, they don't feel like it's their house. We do. It's funny, sometimes tenants will be like, well, this is my house. Like, you can't let yourself in to fix something. And, if we have like an appraisal or just want to go by, they called about a service request. They're like, well, that's my house. Like, I get it. And I appreciate that. And they have pride of ownership and they have a thing. And like you're saying, people don't want to be bothered. But guess what? There's another side to that story, is when you go out there all the time, people be like, oh, well, this is wrong or that's wrong.
Right.
I don't want to say don't fix the stuff, but it's like, it's one of them things. If you keep swatting at it and you're there all the time fixing little thing, it becomes a convenience to them. And rather than them taking pride of ownership to say, well, my circuit breaker tripped, I'll go down and fix it and flip the breaker, they're just going to call you as the landlord and be like, well, you came out for everything else. You might as well call you for this,
Right,
So
right.
There's kind of a little bit of, I don't want to say power struggle, maybe not the best way to put it, but yeah, I definitely say if you're out at the property a lot more, there's a sense of, I don't know the best way to put it, but basically they're more willing to reach out to you more and more and more, which could become a burden rather than a positive thing.
Now, the other thing that you've done with your properties that I think is a key part of your success is that I don't want to say you over improve them, but you make them really nice.
Right. Well, right. And we do stainless steel, we do granite, we do laminate floors. We don't do any carpet. And a lot of times people in the industry and in the market that we work in, everyone says, well, why are you doing that? Well, we're not over improving to the point we can't get the money back out of the property on a refinance, but we are doing it because it's rentability, it's sustainability, it's the life expectancy of your tenant. If you're providing quality housing, A, you can sleep at night, and B, your downtime, your vacancy rate, if you have a crappy property, is going to be a lot longer versus someone walks in, sees granite, they see the central air, they see a good quality product being presented to them. 9 times out of 10, your tenant's going to stay a little bit longer than everybody else. And on top of that, you should have a little bit more pride of ownership from the tenants that are saying, hey, you gave me something nice, I'm going to treat it nice.
Right.
And we definitely do, we definitely see the difference in the properties that we first did that don't have those amenities versus the ones we're doing today, the difference in the quality of the tenant.
Right. I think that's really smart because, these are voucher tenants that this is probably the nicest place they've ever lived in their life. So they're probably really happy to have granite and stainless steel. And if they're in a really nice place, like, why would they want to leave? So I think that's really helping you on the back end, that you're not having to deal with turnover constantly.
Right. And then it also, I want to say it presents us in a good light, out here in the market that we work in. There's a good bit of bad landlords that are just trying to get away with whatever they can get away with. When you walk in and see a house that presents itself nice, you automatically set the bar to be like, hey, I'm here. We take care of our stuff. If there's a maintenance call us, and we're going to figure this out. We take care of our properties. You're taking care of the property as well. And it becomes a two-way street. It becomes a working relationship. It's not landlord tenant. It's, hey, give us a call. We'll figure this out.
Coming up on the Rental Income Podcast.
Ian said earlier that a big part of his success is making the properties nicer than the competing properties in his neighborhoods. The other thing that he's doing is he's actually taking certain things out of his rental properties, things that tend to cause a lot of maintenance problems. So I want to see what exactly he's taking out and how that's working out for him. We'll get into that here in just a second. First, I want to take a moment and thank our sponsor today. It's Rentler. If you're looking for the ultimate online resource to help you better manage your rental properties, check out Rentler. They have everything that you could possibly need to help you better manage your rental properties. They have state-specific leases that you can download. They have applications. They have various checklists. You can also screen your tenants right there on their website, and you can take payments. They actually have a special offer just for our listeners. If you buy a tenant screening package, they will give you either a free year of ACH payment processing or a free month of credit card processing. Just reach out to their customer service department after you order, tell them that you heard this offer, and they will take care of you. If you want to find out more, just go to tryrentler.com/deal. That's tryrentler.com/deal. All right, let's get back to the show. So, Ian, tell me, what exactly are you deleting from your properties?
We delete everything. And it's not because we don't want to provide it to the tenant. It's just, again, some tenants just take care of things different than you would in your house, right? You want ceiling fans in your house that just have some air circulation. We don't put them in for whatever reason. People hang off of them, throw clothes at them, hang clothes off of them, pull the blades down. So ceiling fans go. Garbage disposals, I guess people think they're metal grinders and you could just throw anything down there. So we don't put any garbage disposals in. We don't put any dishwashers in. We remove screen doors, but there is a side note to that, which I'll get back to. And we take out screens for the most part. Screens come out mostly because people like to poke holes. And yes, I would much rather that someone could just open their windows and condition their house with the natural air. But the problem is, people push the screen out to smoke out the window or whatever it may be. And then the other thing we don't do, it's not really a deletion item but we don't do carpet for bed bugs and fleas, and carpets just don't last. So we put laminate in.
Yeah, that's good.
But to go back to the screen doors, we use screen doors as a negotiation tactic. We won't provide a screen door just because for whatever reason, they blow in the wind, flap in the wind, break. But we will provide a security door. If a tenant's willing to sign a multi-year lease, we will use that as a negotiating factor. And then usually, they're $99 plus whatever the cost is to install them. By the time you install that and they've stayed an extra 2 years, it's well worth putting that in. And then I would say also don't paint us in a terrible light. We delete a lot of things, but we also, I hope I didn't lose you.
No.
We delete a lot of things, but we also provide washers and dryers, and that all goes back to sustainability and rentability. And people think that's weird that, you're out there deleting everything. You're getting rid of dishwashers and you're getting rid of garbage disposals, but you provide a washer dryer. But again, provide the washer dryer because it goes back to the life expectancy of your tenant, the convenience factor, and for what it costs and the possibility of damage being in an unfinished basement is slim to none,
Right. Yeah, garbage disposals and dishwashers are probably my two biggest maintenance issues that come up. So getting rid of them or deleting them, I think is really smart. Now, dealing with voucher tenants, is it difficult as far as dealing with the inspections? Like, does it take a lot more time, or is it worth it because you're getting usually maybe a little bit of above market rent, and so I guess, is it worth it for the extra hassle?
So there is a little bit of downtime from the time you find your tenant to the time they get placed, because you have to pass an initial inspection. And then after that, every year you have to pass an annual inspection, which doesn't take any time out of your schedule, but it can potentially cause your unit to, if you don't get the stuff fixed, to go into abatement and not get paid. But to go back to the beginning where the tenants are moving in, there is about a 3 to 4 week down period time from when you submit your voucher to getting your paperwork processed to passing your inspection. But for us, it's not so much that you're getting above market rents. I mean, technically, we probably shouldn't be saying that because they're supposed to be fair market rents comparable to what's in the neighborhoods.
Yep.
However, they seem to do like the higher side of the rent schedule.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the security of the payments. I mean, right now I'm processing all the payments because today's the 2nd, and the majority of our money is already here. And our mortgages are due on the 5th, the 15th, and the 25th. I don't have to go out there and chase the majority of the money. Look, worst case scenario, I got 90% of my money, or up to 70% at the minimum, depending on the tenant. But you got at least 70% of your money in the door on the 1st of every month, direct deposited. You don't really have to think about it. And that security, going back to what you were saying earlier, that security is worth every bit of it.
Yeah.
Rather than having to chase a tenant that you don't know what's going on with. And, you have people to rely on down at housing. We had a tenant the other day move out, disappear. We had no clue what's going on. So we called over to the program, and they're like, yeah, we don't know what's going on. They tracked her down, and she just disappeared in the middle of the night. So they're going to terminate her voucher. But it was better than having to go and find that your tenant's missing. You have to go file an eviction to technically take the property back properly. Whereas you just call the program, they agree with you, and there we go. We're already back to leasing it out, and our down period time is a lot shorter.
How did you know she was gone? Like, did you just see that she didn't pay rent, or?
Well, actually, she had 100% subsidy, so her rent was right around $1,500. She didn't have to pay anything. The housing program paid for it all. But there's an annual inspection. So you have an initial inspection when a tenant moves in, then every year, and this is one of the things that we like, is there's an annual inspection.
Mm-hmm.
So at least you're getting eyes on your properties once a year. Even if your tenant doesn't call, you can go in and fix what you need. Well, she missed the first one because it's the tenant's responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So before the second one happened, we sent our intern out there for to go drop a letter. He opens the door and he's like, he doesn't think twice about it, puts the letter there and comes back. So the next day I said, "Hey, how'd it go?" He's like, "Well, I dropped the letter, but there was like nothing in the house, man. Like, I know people, maybe don't live the same way we do. Like, is that normal? Like, there was nothing in there, no TV, no couch." I was like, "No, that's not normal."
Right.
"What do you mean?" He's like, "Dude, there was like literally nothing there and everything was in boxes." So we sent our project manager over there and he saw, he looked through the windows, saw that it appeared that the house has been vacated. Come back to the office, and our electric company here, BGE, we have a system that if a tenant turns the power off in their name, it automatically comes back to our name.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a notice sitting there for that. So that was like the clue that she has officially moved out because she took the time and effort to remove the electric bill from her name. But yeah, that was that's the first time I've ever seen that, because here's the problem, and I just got the email this morning, is housing's now going to process her to lose her voucher, and she was a great tenant. And like, I even told housing, I said, "We'll take her back.
Yeah,
like, we've never had an issue. We need to know what's going on." And they said, "No, we can't. She violated her contract, and unfortunately she's going to lose that $1,500 voucher, that has taken a long time for her to get."
That's crazy. I mean, it's like it probably took her so long to get that voucher just to walk away from it like that.
Yep.
It's kind of crazy. So, all right, before we wrap things up, there was a story you were telling me the other day when we spoke about your friend that had a horse in in one of their rentals. Tell me the story. I think everyone will get a kick out of this.
Right. So we have a very strict no pet policy. However, nowadays, people seem to have everything as pets. So my buddy calls me. He says, I'm driving to Atlantic City to get away for the weekend, and he calls me. I'm on the road with my wife and my daughter, and he's like, "Yo, dude, I have a horse. I just got a phone call. I got a horse at my house." I said, "A horse?" And now, mind you, these houses are like, I don't even think they're 800 square feet. They're literally 2 rooms downstairs, 2 rooms upstairs, and a bathroom. I said, "What do you mean you have a horse?" He's like, "Dude, I just got a picture." He sends it to me. It's a mini horse. I was like, "Dude, there's no way." I said, "Call animal control." Like, I don't really know. So I hang up the phone. I'm like literally laughing at him. I call my partner. I was like, "Dude, you'll never believe what they have. They have a horse in their house." We're laughing about it. So he calls me back and he's like, "Hey man, got good news and bad news." I'm thinking like the good news is going to be, animal control is going to take it. Bad news is they're going to have to put it down. He's like, "No, the good news is it's not my horse. The bad news is it's yours. And the other bad news is I got 20 dogs in my house." I'm like, "What? What do you mean?" And he's like, "Yeah, the mini horse is apparently yours." So I call my tenant. Now, mind you, my friend got his tenant through our tenants because they're both blind.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, "Hey, my friend wants to live around the corner." So I call up the tenant and I said, "Hey, Mrs. So-and-so," I said, "Hey, a friend of mine just told me that you have a mini horse." She's like, "Oh yeah, its name's Penny, and it's our seeing eye horse."
Oh my God.
I said, "Excuse me?" She said, "Yeah, seeing eye horse." So now I'm thinking there's no way. So I called my partner back and we're like, "Dude, what do we do?" So I'm like, "I don't know, call animal control," because that's what I told the other guy to do. I literally, I'm just trying to get him off the phone. So I call over there. We both wound up calling over there, and they're like, "Yeah, there's nothing we can do if they have proper paperwork." We're trying anything, and I get it if it's a seeing eye horse or a specialty care animal. I get it, but it's like it's not the right size house. It's kind of an urban setting, not very appropriate. So we go out there the next day, and of course she has every stitch of paperwork for it. And I think the local school for the blind had donated it to them, and we didn't really know what to do. I think the school ultimately, the problem's kind of self-resolved. And I think the horse is now living back at the school, realizing that it's too small of an area for the seeing eye horse to live in. So while you might have, the lesson is, while you might have a no pet policy in your lease that you try to abide by, seeing eye and support animals obviously take precedence, and there's nothing you can do about it. So always know what you're getting into when you start.
And there was no like city code about having horses.
So the county code is you can have a horse if you have 3 acres of land, and you can have small barn animals. I think it's 3 animals per acre. So you could have 3 goats if you have 1 acre of land. So I called the zoning guy, and he's explaining this to me, and I said, yeah, I get it. I said, so what do I do? He goes, well, if it's a support animal and she has the proper paperwork, we're not going to touch it, because nobody wants to touch those type of things. I mean, you see what's going on with the airlines and everything else. They're like, yeah, no, that's kind of your problem. Good luck.
Wow.
So
that is crazy.
Luckily, I think it's self-resolved.
Yeah.
She moved it elsewhere. But I mean, it's nothing like going to your house and smelling like a barn.
Right.
There's a mini horse living. I mean, it was cute. It was nice, but it was crazy.
Totally. Well, Ian, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time and your stories. If someone wants to track you down online, give us your website and tell us what people can find on there.
The best place to check us out right now is over at landlordinglife.com. And we give out, tips and tricks of the trade right there. We have a good 30-minute video that, reiterates some of the stuff that we're talking about here, and you can check that out and go from there.
Awesome. Well, if you missed that and you want to look it up, I will put a link to Ian's website on my website. You can find it at rentalincomepodcast.com/episode 173. Ian, thanks for coming on the show, and thank you so much for listening. We'll be back with a new episode next Tuesday. My name is Dan Lane, and this has been the Rental Income Podcast.